This is, I believe, the most important thing, or one of the most important things going on in the world right now that the world doesn't know about. That's basically it. It starts in a very unlikely place, if you don't know anything about it. Mexico, about 1930. About 100 miles southwest of Chihuahua, this area right in here. A family of Mexican Americans from El Paso, just on the other border of Ciudad Juarez. The family was of Mexican heritage. The parents had snuck in, they had become citizens, they were taking their kids back to the home village for the first time, and one of the kids was a teenage girl, 13, 14, 15, she couldn't remember in later life. And when they got to the area where the village was, it was like this high desert region, kind of like America's Grand Canyon near the Copper Canyon area of Mexico, which is less known, but this is kind of how it looks, dry, high desert. Got to the village and was told by the people there, the kids, do not go in the mine tunnels or the caves in this area. That is taboo, that is forbidden, and it is just flat dangerous, don't do it, all right? Being a typical American teenager, as soon as she was told what not to do, she snuck off as soon as she could to taste the forbidden fruit. She took a big basket with her to claim she was going to pick fruit, but she was just going to explore and look for the caves and mine tunnels. Some considerable distance away, she said, from the village, she found an abandoned mine tunnel. Now this is very similar to it. This used as it's the only picture I found like it, but it's used as a home now. But this is, you know, imagine in your mind, this is what she found. And she went in. And when she went in, she saw about some 50 feet in, she could still see clear enough from the light outside, a skeleton, a human skeleton lying on its back. She was not really freaked out or anything like you would think a kid would be, because in the El Paso dry region like that, bones of dogs, cats, anything don't really go away. So she had seen plenty, and she had also seen the skeleton hanging on the rod in the biology class at the junior high school. We all had that then, maybe you still do now. So she got a little closer, and as she got closer, she saw that skeleton was lying beside a mound of dirt that looked to her like a grave. Got a little closer, and she saw what she called a misshapen hand, a misshapen skeletal hand sticking out of the dirt. And that hand was wrapped around the upper arm bone of the person lying on the dirt. Now, what she didn't understand at the moment was that whatever was in the grave had been buried by the person there, and that person had left the hand out and wrapped it around her own arm, laid down, wrapped it around her own arm, and killed herself. So that her skeleton would be found there with it, with the arm wrapped around. Very dramatic, very romantic kind of thing, kind of event, whatever it was. She didn't know, she didn't care. What she cared about was that she noticed that the grave looked pretty fresh. The dirt looked crumbly on it. It wasn't compacted at all. And it wouldn't be in a mine tunnel. There'd be no rain to fall on it, nothing to compact it. And so with her bare hand, she scraped it loose to see what was in there, followed the hand down, and sure enough, there was a whole skeleton there. So she said that it was smaller than the one lying on the dirt, which we determined by the size of the head was about 5 feet tall, very typical, common size for Mexicans today. 5 feet, they're short people as a rule. And later, I'll just jump ahead and say that we found out from carbon-14 dating that they were 900 years old, and 900 years ago, 5 feet would be a very average height. So 5 feet, we're happy with that. And she said the other one was noticeably smaller. We assume it was about 4 feet tall. 4 feet tall. Okay, so she gets the bright idea, I'm going to take both of these skeletons. Oh, and by the way, the smaller one she said was misshapen. That was the only word that she gave, and I'll explain later in a moment why misshapen. Misshapen body. Misshapen hand, misshapen head, misshapen body. She got the bright idea that she was going to take them both back, sneak them both back into the States, do something with them, maybe donate them to her school or something like that, and she'd be like a hero or something. Typical kid thought. She bundled all the bones into the basket with the idea of recovering them. But she didn't really have a plan. This is what she found. Skeletons found in the mine tunnel, the hand coming out. Should have done that. All right, so she didn't have a plan. She came to a ravine like this, whoops, and she found a tree here with roots exposed. Tree up on the bank with roots underneath exposed. Perfect place, perfect hiding place. To give her some time to think through what she was going to do with the bones of the skeletons. So she packed them up in there, no problem, going to give herself a couple days to work out a plan, and then she was going to come back and pick them up. That night, torrential rain started to fall. Fell for 2 days. 2 days, 2 full days. Very likely a hurricane dropping its load in that area, as they will do when they come in off the Pacific. So, third day when she was able to get out there and take a look, she found out why the tree was undercut. It was undercut because these things fill up with flash flood ravine water. Waters fill a ravine and flash flood and carve it out. They were all gone, bones gone. And so she decided, well, maybe something washed up downstream, and she walked a little ways, and in some bushes she found the 2 skulls and the piece of maxilla of the one that she thought was deformed, the one that was misshapen. And they had been damaged in the tumble from where she left them down the stream to where she found them. The normal looking one, which I will call the human, what it was, the left zygomatic arch cheekbone was broken off. The jaws, the lower jaws were gone with both, because your lower jaws are not attached to your head. And the face of the misshapen one had been very damaged. The front part of it was gone, the nose part was gone, and both zygomatic arches were gone. But the upper piece, upper right maxilla, this was still there. So that's what she had. She gave them ultimately, she brought them home, went ahead, jumped ahead there. I'm rushing, sorry. She brought them home to El Paso, got them in, no problem, snuck them in fine, and then decided to just keep them, because she didn't have the skeletons, as souvenirs. Keep them as souvenirs of this trip and this exciting adventure that she had. She assumed the misshapen one was a deformity, and that was it. She made a cardboard box to keep them, and she kept them for the rest of her life. In the early 90s, when she found out that she was dying, that she was terminal, she had married a man who was a U.S. Border Patrol agent. He, though nothing was illegal about these things, he just, like some people, wasn't comfortable with skulls in the box in the garage. So she knew that, so she asked a couple of friends, would you get rid of a dear pet, you know, if you knew you were dying? Would these friends take care of them? And they said, yeah, sure, no problem. What are you going to say to a dying woman? But the man of that couple was an FBI agent. He wasn't that comfortable with them either. So he and his wife kept them for 5 years, and they found a younger couple, ironically named Ray and Melanie Young, this pair, Ray and Melanie Young of El Paso, Texas. And they thought Melanie and Ray would be okay with it, because Ray is an electrical engineer working for the power company there, and Melanie had been a neonatal nurse for about 20 years. So Melanie was very familiar with and comfortable with human deformities. Not a problem. And they said, sure, we'll take them. Not an issue. Bring them over. They brought them over. Ray and Melanie saw them. Melanie picked it up, and she felt, as you will feel, how light it was. And she said, this is not right. And she looked at it, and she saw how symmetrical it was. She said, this is not right. This is not the way deformity is. It doesn't just take away the weight of the thing, and it doesn't completely change everything, and yet still have it be symmetrical, because she couldn't see any really good corollaries between what a human is, and what this thing was. So right away she knew there was something special and very unusual about this, but more importantly, she and Ray were members of El Paso MUFON. What a coincidence. Mutual UFO Network, the largest organization of UFO alien people in the States. There are chapters in various cities, various large cities, and El Paso had one. So Ray and Melanie Young knew about aliens, and they knew what a gray was supposed to look like. And Melanie looked at it and she said, you know, Ray, this head could go easily in the skull of a gray. It's got everything it needs. You know, the standard description is a heart-shaped face. Upper part here, larger, crease down the middle, dent down the middle, and then a very, very small lower face, heart-shaped face. She said, I think it's a gray. And he said, you know, you're right, it could be that. Why don't we get it tested? And she said, for it. So they contacted me because when they asked around in the MUFON who knew more about skulls than anybody in the field of research at that time of alternative knowledge, my name came up because of my work with human origins and hominoids, Bigfoot, the abominable snowman, all that. That's what I was talking about. I was not a UFO alien person. I believed in them, but I wasn't that fascinated with them. I was fascinated with hominoids and human origins.